In this energy update, I want to talk about what you may be experiencing both physically and emotionally. What's happening with the planet, the light we're receiving, what's going on in general with this ascension process, and why things really are continuing to look really wacky. We've had a lot of strange events happening in our reality, and it is all part of the process. So let's start with our physical bodies. As we are receiving this high frequency light, our DNA is activating, our soul's energy is moving through our channel within our body, and it is reflecting out or highlighting all the density that essentially is in the way, that is blocking that energy from moving through very smoothly, like a field, torque field. Okay, it's encountering resistance within the body, and that reflects up for us in anxiety, stress, emotional distress, and things like that. So that is a big thing that's coming up right now, is this emotional release, anxiety, stress, things like that, which is the reflection of this energy that has been hiding or trapped within the body. It's coming up now to be felt. Okay, so we want to bring space to that. We don't want to identify with that, because essentially these are versions, older versions of ourselves, traumatized versions that are coming up to be experienced, so that this energy can be integrated, so that it can join in this torque flow of energy through our central channel, our divine energy flow. This energy has been fragmented out. We've ignored it. We've suppressed it. And now it's coming up to be experienced. So you want to experience this. Now, what's been helping me is realizing that these are old identities of me. And when you feel or experience the emotion that is involved with these triggers as they come up, you may even recognize that version of you. You are no longer that version. You have grown. You have expanded. Your frequency has risen. However, there's still aspects of your energy that were locked up in these identities. So they're coming up to be experienced so that they can be reintegrated and again join in the whole. Now, as this energy moves through us, this high frequency light reflects these identities out, these traumas. We feel them. You may experience a lot of tingling in your body, a lot of electrical sensations, a lot of like almost pinprickly numbness. I've been having a lot of that all over my body. This energy, as it moves through, it's creating these electromagnetic effects. Our chakra 11 is really being modulated and adjusted. It's tuning into these frequencies, and therefore, as it starts to move more into alignment or comes more into balance, comes more online, you may feel a lot of this tingly muscular sensation, tingly in your skin, your fingers, your extremities, things like that. It's almost like you could think like of a poor circulation type of problem almost. It's very temporary. It'll come. You may be experiencing this, maybe a little bit of lightheadedness as well. As the energy within your body picks up momentum, there becomes a pressure differential. And sometimes you'll feel a little bit off, a little vertigo-y, things like that happening. A lot of lower back stuff, lower chakra stuff still. Most people that I work with are blocked or have blockages down in the lower three chakras that manifests as this lower back pain, things like that, maybe trouble keeping your balance, those types of symptoms. So that's stuff that you may be experiencing now, along with the emotional, the anxiety, the stress. What's happening is, as these identities come up again and we start to recognize them, we really have a choice to make. And that is, do we identify with these identities, these past versions of us, or do we allow ourselves to see them as past versions of ourselves? Okay, so if we choose to identify with it, we are essentially living from the past. Okay, so every day you wake up in the morning, you're living from the past. If you choose to identify with these versions of you, this is encoded into your memory, your cellular memory. You've been doing these things for years and years and years. These are identities that you have fed energy into and created. Remember, our thoughts create our reality. Okay, so we create these habits, a certain way of being. And as we start to expand, we awaken, we expand in consciousness. What happens is these identities will pop back up. For me, a lot of this happens first thing in the morning. I awaken, I'm in that theta brainwave state, alpha state, start to bring awareness forward, wakefulness forward. And right away, these identities start popping up. What do I have to get up and do? What do I have to do today? Oh, there's some stress. There's anxiety. I don't want to do this. I have to do that. Stuff like that. These are old versions of me that went through some challenging times in the past that are coming up now so that I could see it from the light of my consciousness. I could shine my light on it, and I could bring those versions of me back in here into the heart space. I can accept them and know that they're a part of me and bring them back in instead of identifying with them and then going on about my day, getting out of bed, doing the things I always do in the same way, and ending up with a day at the end of the day that was like all the previous days. Okay. That's how we perpetuate our past. And we resist making changes to our lives because we identify with those patterns that have persisted day in and day out through most of our life. So we need to bring awareness. This is a time to do that now. The energy is so supportive of this. A lot of space is being held by our higher frequency friends, our family, that we can really be on the lookout for these identities. We can feel them, the subtleness. Sometimes they come up very in a subtle way, and we can feel them. We can recognize them, and we can allow them to be. And I want to say this too, because it is very important now to chill. If you're feeling your mind's racing, if you're feeling you got to be just doing, and there's programming there driving that, bring awareness to that, sit with that and chill. Just sit, chill, put on a video, put on some music, read a book, whatever it may be, but bring awareness to that version of you that is coming up to be seen. Okay. Otherwise, you get into this mental pattern or chatter of constantly having to go down this energetic path that really pulls you out of alignment and doesn't lend a whole lot to productivity. Okay. You guys are going to find when you're doing from a state of alignment, you're going to be able to compress time. You can literally compress time and get so much more done in a fraction of the time. So the old way of doing things, sludging through the third dimensional field, taking way longer than we should because we're not fully present in what we're doing and we're not fully aligned, we could give that up. We don't need to operate that way anymore. We are learning, we are downloading, we are installing, integrating brand new instruction book, a new way of operating, a new way of doing. And this new way of doing brings forward a new reality with beings that were previously unseen that are now starting to come forward, because everything's changing. Okay, so the way that we operate day to day, the operating system of our lives is changing. But in order to boot up that new system and new way of being, we need to bring awareness to the old. Otherwise, it's like we keep hitting that power button. It keeps booting up the same way. We do it unconsciously. We wake up in the morning, same patterns come in, and we make a choice to follow those patterns, those habits, those behaviors. Okay, and then that day, the next day, the day after, nothing changes. Okay, we're not allowing the new you, the new us to come forward, the new earth to come forward. So very important in this energy to bring awareness. Again, we are fully supported. We're being supported with this space. I've been doing this a lot the past few days, being really aware of these old versions of me that are coming up. Okay, just so that they can be seen. All right. Can't see them when we choose to become them or align with them. Okay. We can't see them because we feel like we are them. So it's important not to identify as these old ways of being, these old identities, but to create that space and allow them to be seen. Breathe them back into the heart space, sit with it, anchor that energy, embody it. You're bringing it all back into the party, all back into the fold. And if you need to slow it down a little bit, I've been telling people comments and things on videos, feeling very anxious, slow it down. It's okay. All right. We seem to, when we're living in the linear time dimension, really anchored in that 3D type of field, we see deadlines. We put all this self-imposed stuff on ourselves, and that gets us in resistance, and it takes a lot longer to get things done. Okay. When we could start recognizing that that's an old identity, an old version of us that knew how to operate in a lower frequency, we can allow that version to be seen finally and bring it back in. All right. Because we're downloading and grounding and integrating a new way of being that is matching the grid that is being calibrated by us and by our star family. Okay, so we want to stay in alignment with that. So be on the lookout. Again, I can't stress this enough, for all of these old versions of you that are coming up. So we've talked about the physical symptoms, a lot of anxiety and things like that are coming up. We've talked about that, but where do we go in the future? It's all about awareness, okay, of what we're experiencing in the moment. We want to stay present. We want to stay present. Anxiety is going to try to pull us out. Stress is going to try to pull us out. We want to stay present and allow and accept. And when you're feeling like something's a little bit off, sit with that. Sit with that and breathe with it. Realign yourself. This is where the concept of free will, which has been non-existent in lower dimensional fields, is starting to come forward. Okay, you have a choice. You have a conscious choice because you have awareness. When we were in lower fields, these identities of us that were running off of programming, we essentially didn't have free will. Okay, it was an illusion. All right, we would make a choice, but the choice was really being made unconsciously by our programming. Okay, when we can bring awareness to the table and bring awareness forward and observe the programming or these old identities and versions of us, we can then start to live from the perspective of free will and make a different choice and live from a perspective of consciousness. Okay, where we see the field and we could choose to stay present, stay aligned, and access higher dimensional frequencies. And when we do that, we stay in a state of allowance and acceptance. And then we're able to bring forward our intuition. And again, from a perspective of consciousness, we could then make choices that are not limited to programming. That's where free will really starts to open up, and you start to really regain your personal responsibility and your sense of sovereignty. Okay, so all of that's being set up right now. That is encoded in our DNA. It is starting to awaken, starting to come back online. It's encoded in the grid. We are matching the grid, the frequency of the grid that has been adjusted and modulated. Okay, as the grid's frequency rises, as it manifests, we're going along with it. So we want to stay in tune with that. And in order to do that, we have to be able to, again, spot when we're going off the rails, spot when we're falling in frequency, spot when we're identifying with old versions of us. Okay, so we're taking, like I talked about in the last video, these meteor fragments, or a few videos ago, these meteor fragments that essentially is us. As we came into the planet as a meteor, it fractured off as it hit the atmosphere. We're regathering those aspects of us. All these identities that are coming up now to be seen are those fragments of our meteor. We're bringing it all back in and we're becoming whole. And we're matching the frequency of a grid that is the tapestry that is supporting a manifestation of new earth. Okay, and that is coming through us. So as we rise in frequency, this new reality starts to come forward, and others then have the ability to tap into that. You're a light worker. You are responsible for bringing forward these higher frequencies. That's one of your main purposes, is to anchor that light and bring it forward. Connect up with the grid and allow others to be able to find and align with that energy. So many are starting to wake up. We're having all these crazy things going on in the world, these spills and balloons and all this wacky stuff. Earthquakes, massive earthquakes. Okay, the density is being released, can no longer be held. Okay, so things are shifting, and that's how it manifests in reality. That's how this process manifests. Okay, it doesn't always look pretty at times, but this energy comes up to be seen. Just like those aspects of you are popping out to be experienced, to be seen finally, okay, from the light of your consciousness, this density is coming up to be seen and to be experienced so that it can be alchemized. Its frequency can rise and match that of the grid that we are anchoring in our star family. So, such an amazing, powerful time. Do your work, meditate daily, focus on your breath, and really bring a keen awareness in every situation to what version of you is being represented in that moment. Okay? And see it and love it. Aspects of you that are returning home. Embrace them with compassion. And we will see this veil lift at a much faster pace. Thank you so much.